Hello, Froggy here, and we've had some progress in the Corrupted. Thanks to some exploration by Adelaide with follow-up from myself and Henry, we now have a pretty good path up to the Nonascendant Ogre room. It's been a dream for a while to get up there without a box break. I got that, strange structure out there. If you haven't flown out that way, there's a strange V-shaped structure. Don't know why, but it's been new this expansion. Anyways, the hole I used there was one of the ones that was used back when people were getting into Last Wish early. It's also pretty handy for this. There are many different holes you can use for this area here. You don't need to sparrow, of course. It was just a little convenient for me to land here for a checkpoint. It is pretty easy to mess this one up, but you can use a quirk of Eager Edge. Currently, at least, it will slow you down if you're moving quickly. So you can take advantage of this to follow the kind of slanted push barrier down the side here to avoid hitting the kill. You can also just use grapple. It's a little bit harder on a hunter than it would be on a titan. You will want to be doing a hunter for this, or otherwise have a hunter in your party, because we are going to be doing a lot of grapple climbing. If you get stuck at this part going towards the land, you're probably a little bit too high, so lose a little bit of that height and you should be able to move forwards. One thing you'll notice about this area is that the lighting is quite wacky, but I spent a bit of time trying to come up with a route that is easy to follow. So you're going to want to head up to the door on this side. I've shown this on previous Corrupted videos. This particular area is also very convenient if you want to do a Syncbox later to get further in the strike. And now it is completely dark. So you're going to want to use a bit of ghost lighting and scan lines here. I'm just using them to see where I can jump out to the left. And right when you get to the crystally bit, you can drop down to the next level. We're going to be going underneath the path now. You can see the door back that way. Now we can drop a little bit more. And this is probably the trickiest part of the route. We need to grapple fly kind of close to the ceiling. I would put a grapple point a little bit high up, just makes it a bit more convenient before we follow the kind of strike floor forwards. If you go straight for that door, you're going to hit a death barrier, so definitely keep your height here. You'll have to drop to keep going. And there's a little kind of shelf to the right that it's convenient to land on. And from here, it's pretty easy to find your way. We're just going to be walking right off to the left. If you hit this flat ground, you're doing it right. And now we're dropping off to the left. Thanks to Gerbsnail, who provided me with some better lit pictures of this area. So it turns out the wall to the left here is actually intangible, so we can just walk straight on through. And now it's grappling time. Adelaide found a route where you use the blade barrage to push through the pushback and land pretty close to where we are now. But I like this route because it avoids having to swap your super, and it's a lot easier to restart without having to get a flag. Although it had the benefit of being able to do that from the regular strike path. Anyways, I hope you're comfortable with your grapple flying, because we're going to be using quite a lot of that here. Want to just make your way around to the top side of this beginning structure. And now we have a brief break. We'll be climbing up our first funnel right here. I would recommend targeting right in the middle of this elevator structure. Although we're going to need to switch to the outside once we get up there. With my triple kickstart setup, I find I take about a little bit more than 4 grapples to recharge my grenade. Which means for the first 1 or 2 climbs in a row, I can just use 4 grapples, though it's a lot safer to just do 5, either every time or every other time. Once you get up about to this inverted spire, you're going to want to switch to climbing up the outside of the cylinder. If you go on the inside, you're going to hit a death barrier eventually. And now you'll just want to make your way up the side of the elevator. If you're doing this from the strike, you'll find that the elevator is in a little bit of a different position. Oh, almost missed that. Unfortunately, this rest area isn't a true checkpoint because we can't seem to set our spawn on this structure. It also happens to be an entity, so you're only going to get 1 stasis crystal on it if you were to throw a crystal on it. We've got a choice here. First, I'm going to be showing you how to get up into the non-ascendant ogre area. Although you could also go a little bit of a different route here to get to the next funnel. If you're going up, you're going to want to make sure that you back away from the tube as much as possible to avoid the death barrier that you would otherwise hit. You probably don't have to go quite as far out as I'm going here, but it can't hurt. You can't go too far because a push barrier will stop you eventually. But you can definitely go not far enough. Anyways, the rest of this climb is pretty monotonous, so let's just skip ahead. You can kind of see that I am hitting a map ceiling now, which is unfortunate because if you're going to Ascendant Ogre, you would want to go all the way up. But we'll get to what happens there in a little bit. Let's just say that I've got some good news and some bad news. We can kind of use this door as a little landing pad. Gotta watch out for the light change because it's very easy to lose track of your grapple points in it. Luckily I didn't just lose mine there. But keep in mind that we don't actually have a spawn point set because it's still part of that weird elevator entity. To be safe before we try to get in, I would advise landing on this sort of rock cliff face. Right around here, despite it disappearing on me. There's actually a little convenient spot that you can get back in here, which might have also been in my previous corrupted video, but back then we were using IRB to get up here, which we can't do anymore because we currently do not have the ability to get to Patrol from Last Wish anymore. Just a simple swing and we're through. Welcome to the non-ascendant area. And I gotta say, it is so nice to be able to come here solo and on full patrol too. Adelaide did a very good job in finding this. Anyways, might as well take in these sights while we're here. The lighting is a whole lot better in the non-ascendant sections. Might as well visit one of our old friends here. The square hole. Go ahead and pop your head up here. It's a bit less frustrating to do this with Strand than it is with Stasis. Back when we were doing the IRB route, I think this is where we would get back into the map. Now, if only I can get my grapple shot right to get up. There we go. You will get a bit of a turn back here if you jump at all. There's some neat areas you can look at, but I want to just keep going here. Unfortunately, there is an entirely impassable fence here. Could probably spare a dismount through if we had one. But who am I kidding? Of course it's just going to be a hole right next to it. Just gonna jump up on the rock here. And right across. And we can dip underneath to just get in the next area. Luckily, while we were messing around in this area with me, Henry, and Adelaide managed to stumble into the next funnel. It's right around here. You wouldn't normally get to see into this room because the portal would be here, but you know, kind of a novelty to get into this room. And the funnel would be right around there and, you know, right here on the left, but we can't really access it from inside. And that brings us back to that second route that I was talking about. So back on the elevator before that climb, we can instead just go right across here. As you do this slide, you're going to want to stay roughly level. If you go too high up, you'll hit a death barrier, and there's probably one below you too, but I didn't really go too far to check that. If you mess up on your grapple and you have your super available, you can always activate it and use your heavy swing to just sort of helicopter in place for a bit. And we're just about there. All of these rocks are solid. In fact, I believe they are kind of preload assets for the Adytum load, which would be our next destination. Just climbing up these rocks here. It is a little bit odd that any of this area is here, given that we don't even get close to it from the Temple of Illyn load. Oh, looks like I'm at the edge of the box barrier here. But yeah, you would hit the load before you do the giant drop. So it makes sense that all of that drop could be in the sort of shared load, but no, I guess this structure is here just because. Still neat to see it though. So from here we want to go upwards because it turns out that the funnel is right above us. Which I guess kind of makes sense since there is a teleporter that goes this way. I was hoping that in Adytum the funnel would end up in the same place, but unfortunately that didn't end up being the case. Just like we saw before, there's going to end up being a little bit of a color change here when we get close to our destination. So you might have to play Guess Where My Grapple Point Is. But luckily we made it right to the top. Let me get my grapple back. And that is the backside of that door we were at before. And this is that side door. The funnel goes right up about here, but I find the easiest way to get into it is to climb right about that door. You can see the walkway that we use to get into this kind of side room. And there is a hole in the ceiling, which is pretty convenient. To get into the funnel, you're going to want to place a grapple point right about where the kind of crystally wall and rock face meet. It can be a little bit tricky to get up there, but luckily Hunter Jump has a little bit of intrinsic push to it. There will be an induced turn back when you get up there. But if you round the corner fast enough, it shouldn't be a problem. And welcome to the funnel. Good news is the funnel goes all the way up. The bad news is that you do not, because there are rocks in the way. Though we do know that if the rocks were not in the way, it would be possible to go all the way up. And then you would be able to reach the Ascendant Ogre area. But as is, we would need some pretty fancy wall breaches to manage to get all the way up there. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. So at least for now, the solo route is at its end, and you won't be able to get up any higher without a box break. So I guess if you are playing solo, that's about where this video ends for you. Maybe someday we'll find another funnel that you can use to get up to the Ascendant Ogre area. But luckily, we've got a few box breaks in the game that are usable here. You can do a Syncbox back from that door that we hit the load from. And luckily, Salvo did just that. I'm currently down about where the funnel is. And Salvo is dropping down on top to where I am. If we still had the last wish to patrol, we could use this to get a consistent IRB directly into the Ascendant Ogre area. But unfortunately, we can't currently do that. Alas. Once anyone has reached the Adytum, anyone else can join in about here. Unfortunately, the portal at the end of that drop isn't present, so we're going to have to come back the way we came. There are holes up above me, which is now Salvo quickly got down to the funnel spot I was in. But I'm just going to take a look around in rather dark Ascendant area. I'm not sure how accessible this quest still is, but there was a special version of this strike where you would go up to this kind of rock structure up here, where you would find a very suspicious burn mark on a rock and a shattered ghost. It's probably fine. I do believe there is a jumping path to get up here. It's just so dark that it's hard to see. Let's see if we can make it back the proper way. Man, do I miss the infinite ghost glitch. It'd be really nice if one day they just gave us a proper flashlight. At least we got ghost lights from the, funnily enough, the Beyond Light lighting changes. It's a whole lot of light. Anyways, looks like we continue along across the way. And it is oppressively dark. It is nice that we can keep our ghost at while jumping around. I'm not sure if that used to be the case. Or maybe it's just running that puts it away. Man, grapple makes so much easier. And that'll about bring us back to where we climbed up. Once again, we've got one of those fenced-off areas. And once again, we can just go around. Turns out a fence on the land means nothing if you can fly. And now we're in Ascendant Ogre proper. I'm still hopeful that one day we'll get here without a box break. But I'm not very hopeful because I kind of doubt there's going to be a second funnel, and we have already identified one. We'll be taking the long way out there just because I kind of wanted to show this area in our investigations into trying to find a way up here. I spent a fair while just jumping off the map in these parts over towards where you can see the elevator. It turns out you can drop very low here, and I would frequently attempt to blink through the death barrier. Always unsuccessfully, of course. Blinking through death barriers is not the easiest thing, especially when you don't have much in the way of guides for where your blink should start. Anyways, once we're underneath the first death barrier, we can glide back over to where you saw Salvo do the drop. That'll get us into the upper part of the funnel, which isn't really particularly useful because of how blocked off it is, but it's still a nice novelty and somewhat satisfying to know where the funnel is, even if it is completely useless for our purposes. Keep in mind that if you mess up a grapple, you can always recover using your super. That has definitely saved me a whole lot of time. Better funds both of your grapples. Anyways, once you're above this structure, you can safely drop down. You just kind of want to line yourself up with where that little door would be. And the funnel itself is probably only like maybe 10 meters wide, maybe a little bit more. But just to put into context how utterly ridiculous it is that Adelaide managed to find this in the short amount of time that we were looking around up here. Look out, Henry, we may have a new Lord of the Funnels. See if I can manage to get this. Ah, second try. Not bad. But yeah, this area is not very wide. And you can see there's kind of a ceiling that extends a good ways out. Heading back to the Adytum, there's only one last place to get to. And sadly, there is no easy way to get there. We've been trying, looking up here, to find a way to drop down into the next area. There seems to be something of a funnel down there, but we've had no luck navigating it, and there might be a death barrier at the bottom. If you manage to get a sparrow, you could probably double Vesper Synbox and get to the boss arena, but I wouldn't wish that path on anyone, and I have seen people do that. But yeah, if you want to try your hand at this, and possibly the strike with a fire team, since that's a whole lot easier to reach, just come anywhere around here and try dropping down. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a nicer view of that boss area. But yeah, dropping down here is a bit of a labyrinth with all the push barriers around. And I would try your hand at just dropping, seeing how far you can get. Huh. Feeling a little bit stuck here. And alright, so I either just found a very small section of intangible rock, or I just straight up wall breached. Given the physics changes, it might be a wall breach, but yeah, if you can find that rock base there and give that a try, that would be good to know. Because we might just be able to get a wall breach out of that. But yeah, I seem to very much be stuck in this rock now, so I guess that'll be it, because I do not have a good way to get out of this. Well, at least this is a pretty rock to be trapped in. And hopefully you have learned a few new things and have fun visiting this area on your own. Perhaps one day we'll be able to stand in the boss arena itself without having to break the box at all. Who knows? Anyways, I guess there's probably another funnel too, since we have Ascendant and non-Ascendant boss as well. Funnels for everyone.